Isn't that nice? Okay, good morning, Mr. TK.
All right, Darryl. Thanks for meeting me on a Saturday instead of Sunday tomorrow. I appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy.
Yes, I have much going on all of the time. It's
Absolutely.
ridiculous. It's just
Hey, there's a
ridiculous.
lot of planning involved in staying safe.
I gotta keep up this beard and this hairstyle, this black t-shirt I gotta keep clean. There's a lot
Yeah,
going on over here.
that's good. That's a safe bet. Black t-shirts. Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong.
Hides the dirt. What's new with you guys? I know that
I got
this week has been pretty eventful, right? With COVID, and we got the presidential election coming up, and people are the WHO is saying lockdowns aren't the way to go, and there's all sorts of this confusion again this week.
It's hard not to be the Toronto COVID show.
Are we going to have Halloween, or are we not going to have Halloween. If you have candy at your door, are you breaking the rules? Are you not being safe? Should you do the shoot right down the driveway?
If you get egged, will you know why?
That's good.
So,
Yeah.
so I
Make sure
did you see that plumber who's like fixing PVC pipe to people's railings so they have a chute to pass the candy down
I have people
safely?
in my neighborhood. Yeah, I have people in my neighborhood who has it.
Yeah, it's good because it can't be on the candy that you
Of course
touch
not.
and cough in the bowl and sneeze in the bowl.
I think Halloween should be a go, and I am going to Durham region just to make sure that there's going to be more people with their lights on. So bring the boys out there.
I think like everything should just be like if you want to go, go. Like if you
Yeah.
want to be open, be open.
Well, that's what they're doing now. Now this is the new
Not really.
approach. Well, this is the new approach. This is the new official stance that the World Health Organization has, which is, guys, lockdowns has not worked. They did studies in the UK. They've got a lot of
Sweden.
issues around poverty.
But Sweden took the stance. Was it Sweden? I think it's Sweden.
Sweden, yeah,
Sweden
never
took
no
the
lockdown.
stance, no lockdown. And just recently, like maybe in the last couple of days, they were like, this is not working. This was a bad idea. This thing's going crazy here right now.
Yeah, I've read different, but I don't think we know the outcome yet. I think that there's still more data that needs to be seen because you
They're
have to look at everything. You have to look at all the factors that could lead to a higher death rate and higher infection rate and all that kind of stuff. And it's a long term study. It's not something that we're going to see over 1 or 2 years.
this
Does herd immunity really exist? I don't know.
we will see. It doesn't
What's not
seem
immune
like
though?
it.
What's not immune though to the pandemic? Toronto real estate market.
At the moment, the Toronto real estate market. So here,
It's
we are going to do a little different again because
okay.
I
I'm
can't
excited.
I can't get things going here in a efficient fashion. I'm going to
Sure.
go through all of these headlines and then we will jump into it. We have a couple of comments that we need to touch upon at some point during this
Absolutely. I got
episode.
the deal of the week.
Another deal
Talking
of the
about
week. Look at
deal
you.
of the week.
I should have been a residential realtor. All right, here we go. Ready? Off we go to our negative Nancy at Better Dwelling. Remax turns bearish on Toronto condo prices. Expects decline soon. Ooh, that doesn't sound good. Although we have been seeing that already, like in real time, right? We know that condo prices are definitely, at least in the resale market, going down for sure, especially in buildings where there's a ton of listings. But let's go to this next one. A crazy time, quote unquote. This is serious because there's quotes.
Okay.
Toronto landlords dish out incentives as rentals cool. Like, this is just recycled garbage. This is not
Does the
news.
Does the news report on the past, present, or future?
Past.
Past.
Oh, I felt like I could get that one wrong almost. That was scary.
Right. So we're one step ahead. You and I, we're talking about things that we're seeing in the trenches that's actually happening today. And we're
Ooh.
looking at what might be happening in the future. By the time the news media gets a hold of it, it's old news.
But this is literally old news. Like this
Yeah.
this is not news. Anyways,
No.
that's
But they
what
don't
they're
want to report
talking
on
about.
things that they don't know about, so they have to be careful until enough sources come forward, right?
You'd think BNN Bloomberg would have something more to talk about at this point, but I guess
They should,
not.
they should start a real estate brokerage.
Let's
Like everyone
show
else.
them let's show them how to do this, okay? Let's show them
All right.
what news is really all about.
Okay.
Bank of Canada housing market support is gone. This is important. I spoke about this last week. This was the needle in the haystack that I had found, or the little nugget that the Bank of Canada is no longer going to be buying out all of these
Mortgage bonds.
mortgage bonds. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's gone, and people are now starting to talk about that more. Like that came up quite a bit. Also, Banking Watchdog says no plans to bring back special treatment for deferred loans despite second wave. So
Absolutely.
no more Mr. Nice Guy. Time to feel some pain.
Absolutely.
Time to feel some pain.
We can't defer things anymore.
If
People
they're
got to figure it out.
just walk slowly, because the cliff, whatever it looks like, is coming.
Right on.
That's what I think from that.
Basically, that's just saying the banks are no longer going to have the flexibility in what they're doing, and it's got to be business as usual. They got to be collecting their loan.
They have to think again. They have to think before they give somebody some money now.
And setting aside provisions for losses and doing everything as per the regulations to make sure that the banks don't go under. I mean, that's really what it revolves around. Is we got to protect the banks, because look what happened in the States there in 2008.
But
all the bailouts,
if the banks go down, we can trade in dandelions.
We can trade in dandelions.
I would be fucking loaded if we were trading in dandelions right now.
I would be, June, July, I would be hitting.
My lawn is a disaster.
10 months of the year, it'd be a tough go.
Okay, ready? Check this out. This, I think, is in fact true.
Okay.
Canadian condo buyers at the beginning of the pandemic now nearly underwater.
Say that again.
So basically, if you bought at the beginning of the pandemic, you're kind of fucked right now, because the prices have shrunken considerably.
But underwater is not the right term.
There's
potential for that. So if someone bought with 5% down, then basically with the mortgage insurance premium, and they closed on that price, and now in certain locations the prices may have gone down, and there would be examples of people underwater. But also those people just got a mortgage, so they were scrutinized heavily, and they are probably as good as anybody to make those payments for the next 5 years. So
it's based on 5% down payment, blah 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 blah. Anyways, I mean, it's just a good way for Mr. Negative at Better Dwelling to
underwater.
Keep subscriptions up. Okay, we have home prices just recorded second highest September increase in 22 years. Haven't we already talked about September?
Like
October 21st. Like, what is going on? But you know what? See, I felt in my soul, I felt that there was not that much going on this week. But then I looked through my articles and I was like, wow, there's a lot of articles. But there's no substance to most of these articles at all. Here's another one. Housing boom. Sales of $1 million homes double. You've been talking about this for are you frozen, or you're all right?
Yeah. I'm just nodding. I'm listening.
Yeah. I couldn't tell if you were frozen. You were stoic. But yeah, you've been talking about this forever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's more just headline grabs. It went from 8.
What's going on in the past?
But it went from 8 sales to 16. But it doubled. I mean, this is big news here.
Some of them went from 185 up to 430. It was
of $1 million, $1 million,
$2+ $1 million homes.
Wow, where's all this happening?
We've had lots of more sales. York region started to get activity again. Durham region started to get activity again, and then even in the central areas too. I mean, I know we had a listing in Forest Hill that was sitting, and all of a sudden, pandemic was kind of gone away, and people started to come back out again beginning of June, I'll say, and all of a sudden it's multiple offers. It's over $5 million.
Wow.
So people were buying. People changed their spending habits when the pandemic was after the first wave, we'll say.
So boots on the ground. What are the numbers going to look like for October? Like we're October 24th. What do you feel? Are we still
So
on fire?
the October numbers have been still really strong. I mean, I'm talking to a lot of different people, and I can tell you for sure that the market is not consistent throughout the city, and that there's definitely some areas that are not as active. But like the Durham region, like the small, cheapest houses, on fire.
Fire.
Parts of York region still not as active. There's a lot of inventory there. Peel region, some of the areas are just like you can't get into them.
What
Just
about, but what
everything's
about,
multiple offers.
and what about downtown Toronto? I mean, if you want to have a house downtown, it must be impossible.
Core. So like when I'm looking at like E1, E2, E3, so just East End, and I'm looking at freeholds C1, C2, C9, W1. These are all like really central locations. Yeah, very active.
No, but like
Because
downtown, downtown.
yeah, that's the core property. So if they're freehold, there's just not a lot of those ever, and the
Yeah.
inventory is super low. I got one coming up next week at Young and Bloor that we'll talk about.
Is that the one that
once
we
the
talked
listing
about
goes
last
live.
time? What was the one at Church and
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I wanted to know. Okay, so we'll talk about
I'll
that
give you all the
later.
specs once that goes live. Yeah.
Okay, a couple more headlines here, and then we can get into our wonderful conversation that I look forward to every week. So, will Canada exceed 100,000 express entry invitations in 2020? The answer seems to be yes.
Seems like it.
It
Express
seems
entry.
like they're really trying to get
That's like the
people
golden
in.
ticket in Charlie.
Yeah,
Chocolate Factory.
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka.
But
That's what
they're
that
doing
is.
it. It's like it's a lottery. People are quite upset, thinking that they're getting their parents in or they're getting their family over, and sorry, not this time, sucker. It's not the best way of doing things. But if you I don't why is there even a limit? Why
On
can't
what?
people coming in? Like, come on.
What do you mean? Why is there a limit?
Why is there a
How could
limit? Bring them
how
in.
could we possibly? Okay,
Drug
sure, I agree
dealer?
with you. I'm
No.
pro immigration.
Rapist?
How,
No. You're in.
okay.
Money? Yes, you're in.
So one, when things are rushed, those types of people will end up getting let in.
But they're in here anyways.
Two, okay, but they're doing everything they can to prevent that. Two, there's a strain on the economy, there's a strain on housing, there's a strain on infrastructure, there's a strain on support. All the systems in place can only manage so much. So there has to be a limit. But I know that the government of Canada, like the federal government, has been putting in a lot of resources to make sure that we are increasing immigration because we know how vital it is. And we have an aging population, and the skilled workers. Just do a survey, like call some guys over to your house and find out who really knows what they're talking about. Yeah, there's some young guys.
Listen,
a ton of them are older.
I was in construction for a long time, and I know the answer to that. There's very few competent people. And it's not even that they're not competent. They're stretched so thin because there's such a demand for them that it's impossible to do it properly unless you stay really lean. But if you stay really lean, it's really hard to make money. It's like it's a catch-22, right?
And you can't scale because it's hard to find guys just like you who can do the work.
It's impossible. Nobody wants to do the work like the owner does.
Yeah. So it's trust me, we need skilled workers. We need guys who are coming in here to who know
Robots.
what they're doing.
We need robots.
The tech sector is growing, so there's a huge void in that industry.
We need robots and 3D printers.
Eventually,
it's happening, baby. Germany. They're printing a 3D house over there.
I love it.
It's amazing. I love
it. I think prefab stuff is the best way to go.
Well, prefab, that's not quite prefab, but it's pretty cool.
Well, they're not printing it on site. They're printing it in the factory.
No. This is like concrete 3D printing on site with these gigantic 3D printers. It's crazy stuff.
Ouch.
Yeah, layers of concrete on top of layers on concrete. It's insane.
Yeah. But
up in Aurelia, they're actually doing a affordable housing project out of containers. It's really fucking ugly.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Inside,
I think it's a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone to where we need to go and finding alternatives for prefab housing that maybe are using recycled materials or whatever. I think that is the future. I just don't think it's going to be in the golden horseshoe area as a number one way to build, right, for a very long time.
Well,
because of the aesthetics.
Lumber prices are at an all-time high and on their way up even higher.
I get it.
affordable housing
Real
is
estate.
not even a reality anywhere on the planet. Even like
No.
Africa and India, it's expensive. But anyways, I digress. Here we go. This
Okay, back on track. Back on track.
this will, I think, come up a little bit later when we talk about one of our friends' comments. So these Toronto neighborhoods still have median house prices of less than 1 million.
Ooh,
And
target market.
some of them are fairly desirable, I think. A lot of them are Scarborough,
Mm-hmm.
which you know I love, and I know you love.
I do.
Yeah, there's what do we got here? Rockcliffe and Morningside, Keysdale. There's a lot of places here that you can still buy a house for under $1 million. So that might tie into our conversation about where would you invest $100,000 these days. It may not, depending on your risk aversion. Here.
Sure.
This is kind of where I just want to start off the conversation, if you will allow me, sir.
I thought we started, but don't worry. Let's pretend what happened didn't happen, and now let's start.
Well, okay, here, take 2.
Okay.
Canadian companies that have filed for creditor protection since the pandemic began. And what I want to say, as nicely as I can, is I don't know that too many of these companies will be missed.
Okay. But you know what? Le Chateau. I mean, that was
Listen,
a hot spot for teenage girls for years. I mean,
forget
I think some of them
teenage
are gonna miss
girls.
it.
I've
Okay.
I've bought plenty of clothes from Le Chateau, and
Well, you're
I bought.
fashionista, so you know,
Well,
you got stuff from everywhere.
that's right. I mean,
Black t-shirts. It's
I
just,
wonder where this black T-shirt is from.
it's okay.
But no, listen, I mean, I bought from Aldo too, and they're gone, and I bought from Toys R Us too, and they're gone. And hey, guess what? If you look at my closet, there are shoes. There's not too many toys around here. Not much use for Toys R Us. But if I did need something from Toys R Us, I'd order it on Amazon.
Yep.
Pier 1 just took a dip into the bankruptcy pool. But like, okay, Mountain Equipment Co-op, Geox, like, there's no one on here where I'm like,
Yeah.
like, damn, like life is gonna really
we gonna
suck
get-
without
we gonna
David's
get
tea.
from-
Like, who doesn't walk by David's tea and go, what the fuck is this all about anyways? Like, I mean, I like tea, but,
I like tea too.
and
but
I buy
really
stuff from
don't have any
David's
options.
tea. I buy stuff from there, but it's like, I don't need to,
Yeah.
right? Cirque du Soleil. I
it.
mean, if that wasn't just,
Cirque du Soleil is getting help too, right? So they're
Well-
a huge Canadian icon. So I think that's going to be something that stays. Right now, they're just restructuring.
right, restructuring.
Yeah.
GNC Holdings, I guess that's the protein powder company. I mean,
Yep.
that's a lot of protein powder on those shelves.
Yeah, that should be an online business.
Most of
We don't need
these
to have, we don't
should
need to
be.
have a bricks and mortars location for supplements.
So, and I'm going in order of I guess now and getting closer to the beginning of COVID. So we're going backwards in time here, but like, so May 7th, Aldo, like, it wasn't the pandemic that must have killed them, because that's a pretty quick fucking exit, right?
Yeah.
And Foodora, the food delivery service, on April 27th, like, am I missing something here?
That was because of unionization or an employment structure. That was the reason behind that.
What, so Uber Eats is different than Foodora, and Skip
Yeah,
the
so I think there were
Dishes, and
independent contractors with Uber Eats, and it was employees with Foodora. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that was the reason Foodora backed out, and it was the Canadian side because of what was going on in the States, something like that. So, but I get
anyways.
it. I know what you're saying. So that was the reason why a service like that during the pandemic collapsed.
I just think that this is, you know, it's unfortunate for the people that work at these places, but there'll be
Wasn't a ton of security in the first place.
well, and they just, who cares about these companies? Like, they're all just redundant. Like, there's so many people in that space. Like, they were dying breeds, or they should be online, because it just doesn't make sense to pay crazy mall rents in every single mall across the planet and have like Aldo. You buy something from Aldo online, and then you take it back to the store. So you can order like 18 pairs of shoes, keep one or none, or 3 or 18, I guess, depending on who you are. But you take back the ones that don't fit or you don't like, right? So now all of a sudden the stores have to deal with all these people doing returns that weren't even bought from their stores. Like that must have helped put them out of business. That's crazy business model. But they have to compete. Anyway, so there. I wanted to get that out of the way that yes.
Well, I want to know now what all the executive packages are going to be with all these people under bankruptcy
Oh
protection,
yeah.
because there's going to be some money spilling out of that those coffers.
People will be able to afford those $1 million plus houses.
Right?
With their exit packages.
Not in these top 10 areas though. I mean, they're probably in the nicer part of towns. That's for sure.
They are.
Right?
Oh, we got a wrestling match again. Our weekly wrestling match. We should just let them.
WWE.
We should let them do it on screen.
We'll have a segment. Yeah, we'll have a segment.
Is it jiu-jitsu or is it brawling?
That's basically just street fighting 101.
See, I have a son and a daughter, so that never happens. There's some verbal assaults from time to time, but nothing physical.
So what does this mean? So I mean, we've got businesses shutting down. What is the retail landscape going to be when this all settles down? I was thinking about it yesterday. Like, I'm trying to think of all the different businesses that could be using this retail space. Are they just going to go and restructure? Are they just going to completely forget about the old business plans that they had, and all these big REITs and organizations are going to end up converting these into different types of spaces? Like, what's going to happen?
Well, if you're in retail and you're an entrepreneur and you're not thinking like, how do I avoid this when it happens the next time?
Yeah. You're out.
Well, you're pretty fucking slow and you're pretty stupid, right? So
I think,
assuming that people are thinking like, how do I make sure this doesn't happen again? It's going to change drastically because the footprint of the physical has to change. It can't be relied upon as the main source of income anymore.
Your Aldo example, though, I believe is the future. Okay.
Returns to physical.
I'm not saying you need to return, but have some sort of cross collaborative e-commerce and bricks and mortar locations for every type of business. Maybe you don't need as many.
No, you need to have warehouses with a little retail at the front of the building, right?
Something like that. So that people can still get the experience if they want. They can have some troubleshooting, options if they need it, but really focus on the e-commerce side, right? So that's
has to be.
Yeah,
so you know where you want to be? You want to be in like what's it called? The guys that sell like the repoed lots, the
storage.
No.
No.
When you buy like the closeouts and you sell like pallets, liquidation guys, like you know what? You take all these returns from the e-commerce places and resell them. They almost give them away for free. There was like a whole expose done on Amazon returns.
Yeah.
But
shout out to Auction Max at 400 and 401.
No, but seriously, that's going to be very lucrative at some point. But yeah, I mean, listen, Main Street retail is going to change, but I really don't know how. I mean, I'm not a retailer. I'm not really thinking about it.
We're going to get creative, and it's going to be in partnership with the landlords.
But there's two schools of thought. I mean, for a physical presence, you probably do need bigger, wider space, like more expansive space for people to walk around. Like furniture, for example, can't be the same model as like a little tchotchke store or whatever. I mean, I drive up and down Yonge Street for years going like, how is that place in business? I don't understand. Like this little, how is that place in
markup
business? How can they afford the rent? They must live upstairs and own the building, and like they're living off of appreciation for the last 30-40 years. Because who goes to the half of these little tiny hole in the wall specialty stores?
Yeah.
Like
they've got a customer base. I mean, I know a few people who've got spaces that are.
It's a lot of stores though that have a really
markup. They've got the markup too.
Yeah, I
don't. They're specialty. They know where to source things. They know how to suck every bit of profit from every sale.
Yeah, I mean, some of these stores are crazy, but I have no idea what it's going to look like, but it's definitely going to look different, 100%. But I mean, it has to just be smaller physical space and more online. Like or whatever it is, it has to be more online. 100 million% more
Yes. So
online.
the retail service jobs are going to be going down, and that more people will be getting into sort of industrialized or warehousing and things like that. That is going to be in the back end, helping bring products to consumers, not face to face.
Well, and what's going to be even crazier is
So
so
Amazon's the best example of that, right? With all the people that they hire.
well, but okay, so but companies like Amazon, for example, they get bigger and bigger and they get more automated, right? There's more and more robotics involved in all those warehouses. And so what we're seeing right now is like this huge transfer of jobs for people where they're in this gig economy nonsense where they're driving Uber, they're driving Lyft, they're driving Amazon Flex and whatever other ride sharing and this and that kind of gigs they have out there right now. And then uh, yesterday or the day before, Tesla releases their beta testing for full autonomous vehicles. So what's going to happen is you got all these people flooding into these new industries because they have to get out of the old ones that are going to be replaced in like 5-6 years by robots and autonomous vehicles.
I wholeheartedly disagree with you, Daryl.
Ooh.
Wholeheartedly.
Do you
I
have
believe in automation. I know that automation is coming, and I am 100% behind it. That is going to be the way that we need to be able to restructure almost every industry possible. But I believe automation creates more jobs,
it definitely creates different jobs for
and
sure.
I believe that automation will solve more problems and make things better for people. So whether we go down to a shorter work week or whatever it is, but automation is going to create a wealthier society.
For sure it will. Oh, no, listen, I'm not saying it as a bad thing. I'm saying it as it's going to be another interesting shift in the economy as
Yeah,
all
that's
these
the way things
people,
go.
like all these people are rushing to go work for Walmart and Amazon because that's who's hiring right now, right? And people like money. And then all of a sudden in 4 or 5 years, all those new truck drivers are going to not have jobs anymore because Amazon
Right.
also ordered like, I don't know, 1,000 autonomous trucks from Tesla or some crazy number, 300.
Yeah.
Well, but this is what's going on. So what will even be more interesting is how does it affect real estate? Because I imagine these big, gigantic warehouse sites will become in higher demand for sure. You're going to start seeing stuff downtown that are like turning into warehouses because they need a place to like ship all this stuff from the downtown to do 2-hour delivery or whatever they're going to start doing next. Even a day. It's going to be who knows? I mean, I know Amazon is buying all these old malls and they're buying like old theaters and just gigantic spaces to make more probably like what we're talking about with, some retail and a ton of warehouse space, right?
Well, that's the plan, right? So there's going to be we're in the middle of a revolution right now. There's all sorts of new stuff that's coming. We've got new ideas, we've got new uses, and that labor force though, like I know that there's lots of people out there who are probably struggling with their jobs, but it seems like the bulk of the positions that are being lost are in the retail services, which is lower skilled workers. And I believe that those workers, it's a lot easier for them to go and restructure and go into retail, to warehousing at Amazon, to working in the industries where the automation products are going to be created.
Construction,
So
construction.
exactly. So I don't believe that there's really going to be. I think it's just a shift. I don't
It's
believe
going
that
to
there's
be a
going to be this
shift.
void of jobs. There's going to be more jobs. There's going to be more creation.
Infrastructure.
Immigration is going to lead to more jobs and more creation, mainly through construction. Absolutely, right.
Yes. It's a good
So
time to live in Toronto.
these are all beautiful things. They're all beautiful. It's just nobody likes change. Everybody wants things to remain the same. And we always compare ourselves to our parents' generation. So we're always like, well, that's how my dad did it. He had the same job for 30, 40 years. I can't hold a job for more than 5. What's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. That's just the way that things are going. A lot has changed. It's another revolution, and it's an industrial, a technological, a social revolution of almost every area of our lives, right? Medical, right? So there are all these different things that we have to understand as being part of the human experience. And I think that this is a really great time to live, to be honest with you. I'm excited to see what's going to come out of this. And real estate's never going to go away again. You and I, let's just do another quick survey. This is new now because we haven't done this for a couple weeks. Are any of our current friends or family members homeless?
Still no.
So it's a unanimous decision
You too,
that
right?
neither one of us has homeless friends or family members. Everybody's living with a roof over their head, whether it's in a rental or shared space or their own private space, whatever it is. So populations grow. We already know we can't keep up with the construction. We already know that there's not enough places to live. I'm going to lead into one of our comments right now, and
Yes, good segue.
this is why micro units are always going to be in demand, and it is a wave. It
It's a
is a wave.
wave.
We're going through it because cheap, affordable housing has to be an option.
Okay, so hold on. Let me read the comment now.
Sure.
I think this is the one you're talking about. Okay, so our good friend Brian, great show, guys. Thank you. If there is expected to be less demand for downtown condo suites that are 600 to 700 square feet, mine are 2 bed, 1 bath, smart, in the future, then should investors sell these properties post-COVID once the condo market eventually gets hot again? If, generally speaking, the Toronto real estate market is 15 years behind the New York real estate market, given the deteriorating state of the Manhattan residential condo rental and resale markets, should investors start exiting the downtown condo market by the year 2030? And then maybe we can add the other comment because we're talking about rental again. It's all kind of one and the same. So then our friend Truth came back. Thank you. I just find it fascinating how in 2018-19 bond yields went negative. Then the coronavirus hit. Canadians have never been more in debt per household, and house prices are still going up. It's like an alternate universe or something. If an individual has $100K saved up today and wants to look for cash flowing properties, what would be your advice? Would love to hear. What do you think about buying a home, moving into the basement, and renting the top, or both? But I'm thinking about saving the capital gains as well. So rental is on people's minds.
Okay, we'll get to truths after. Let's just start here with the micro units by 2030. So what's our projection? We already know that the Federation of Rental Housing Providers are already talking about
Shortfall. Big.
200,000 units. We know that in order to be able to build that many units at 200 units per building, we need 100 new buildings a year. Okay? There's currently 124 cranes. Not all those buildings are going to be built within the same year. Some of them, it could be over the next 2 or 3 years. How many more cranes are we going to add over the next 2 or 3 years? So let's say we could probably guarantee between 60 and 70 buildings a year. And these would all be high-rise buildings, which they're not all high-rise buildings. Okay? Let's just say we could do that. We're still going to be short 30 different buildings, right? Where are all those people going to live? If we've got 200,000 shortfall units and we have 30% that we're not going to be able to come up with, that's going to be 60,000 units short over the next 10 years. Where are people going to be forced to go to? That's best case scenario. That's like we target every single operation we can and get all those buildings built, and we find land and we cut the red tape and we do everything properly, and we really chip away at that shortfall. You're still going to be short a lot of units, and what's going to happen is a lack of supply is going to create pressure on prices like we've seen in the past. And yes, we're going through a downturn, and yes, micro units aren't in demand, but when people have no choice, they look at, just like New York, Tokyo, Paris, London, they look at finding smaller, affordable units to be able to live in, and those micro units will come back. For the next few years, I would say pre-construction, buying any smaller units is not a great thing to do because there's going to be less of a demand for them. But as far as getting out of the condo market, I wouldn't say, I'd have to know more about your situation and what your long-term goals are, but I wouldn't necessarily paint it as black as if you own a small unit right now, you should get rid of it by 2030 or else. I think that would be irresponsible of me. And I think that there will be a demand for those micro units once the supply gets shrunken up again, and we get back to business as usual, which is heavy immigration, low unemployment rate, accessibility issues for people to be inside the city. Our transit system sucks. Let's just make sure everybody understands that all these people who are talking about moving to the suburbs, that's fantastic. But when you have to be in the city again and you realize the commute and you realize the stress it takes to be able to get from A to B, I promise you, there's going to be a lot of people who cannot afford to lose 2 or 3 hours a day driving, who can't afford to spend the money on gas or a vehicle, and they're going to need public transit. And we only have so many options in the city.
Yeah, and I mean, when we point to New York City right now, I mean, this is unprecedented times. You're talking about the most densely populated city in the biggest outbreak area on the
During a time
planet.
where density is an issue,
No,
right?
but no, during a time when information flows so quickly from so many places and is not verified that like nobody knows what the fuck to do, the easy thing is to just get the hell out of there. But it's not like people have not fled New York in the past for one reason or another. And it's not like New York hasn't been like overvalued forever and had little corrections along the way over time. Like people are going to go back to New York for sure. This is an opportunity for a lot of people, right? This is an opportunity for a lot of people that have been in Jersey or wherever the hell and are like, oh shit, I can afford to live in Manhattan now. Right? All of the stuff that isn't currently there, like Broadway and whatever else, the retail, the restaurants, all that stuff is going to come back in some form or another. There will still be an appeal to live in the downtown core of these major cities.
100%. So what you're saying is in Manhattan, it's an opportunity because of the oversupply right now, and that you can probably get something that didn't exist at a price point, in the past. So is that not the same in Toronto?
Of course, it's the same in Toronto. So here we go. Mr. Condo Wong has given us 7 levels of investors. And what he says is that most investors are level 3, which basically tend to follow the pack. They don't think about the macros of things. So here, this is my take on things, and I've said it before. If you need $100 a month to think that you have a good cash flowing deal on your hands, you should not be an investor. You should not be in real estate. It's way too tight. And if you are stretched so thin that that is a good deal for you, then when a downturn happens, you have to be able to absorb it or you have to get the hell out. But if you have a good investment and it's cash flowing well and you're not like over leveraged all over the place, then the dumbest thing in the world would be to sell a piece of Toronto real estate. Because history shows that over time it goes up like crazy. And on top of that, our government is flooding the market with not cheap money, free money. There's no interest on CERB and CRB, right? There's some taxes, but it's free money, right? People are getting loans for 0% for 24 months. It's free money. So they're pumping the system full of free money, and they're not like I think the Bank of Canada recognized, you know what, like things are going better than we planned. We're going to take our foot off the gas for a bit. We're not going to back this thing up. But the minute it starts to crater again, it's back. They're not going to let it crater. Interest rates are never going up more than a point in the rest of our lifetimes. Like we are going to live in inflation until something major happens, which is going to be that the United States dollar is not the reserve currency anymore, or they go into such hyperinflation because they printed so much money that they're going to die. But the reality is that every country on the planet is hyperinflating their currency together. And all that does is it makes delusions. It creates these assets that are in numbers worth more overnight, right?
If we all become billionaires tomorrow,
then who gives a shit about being a billionaire?
The benefits of being a billionaire no longer exist.
Right. Now, the reality is that most people don't own assets, right? So it benefits, and this is why
the cost of goods and services will go up. Because now all of a sudden it's like, well, what do you mean I can't get my hair cut at 3:00? No, well, how much is that guy paying? Well, he's paying 50. I'll pay 100.
Yeah.
I'll be there at 3.
Yeah.
You don't let him in the door.
Yeah.
And then that guy says, well, what do you mean someone bumped me out? How much is he paying? 100?
Yeah.
I'll pay you 200. I got all the money in the world. So that's how inflation is. it becomes an economic principle of supply and demand, where there's only so much services, there's only so much good, there's only so much food, there's only so much shelter, there's only so much all these items. And if everybody has the means to be able to pay those prices will go up.
Yeah.
Because as
Or
the
if you
demand,
keep bring
is there, the ability, right? Then people will start saying, well, what do I got to do to make more of these products?
sure,
And they'll go to the suppliers, and the suppliers will say, in order for me to get those supplies, we need to pay more because everybody else is getting the same thing.
or
And
we have
as
to
time goes
produce
on,
more.
and when the suppliers are saying, I need to produce more, they're saying, well, I need more employees. And the employees say, I'm worked to the bone. They said, okay, we'll pay you more. So now
We'll pay you
everything costs
more,
more.
we'll get you all comfortable, and we'll replace you with robots as soon as possible.
No
And then the
problem.
cycle continues.
Exactly.
But
So
I'm not even
that's
joking. This is a new cycle. This
I
is.
understand. I agree with you. I want to answer the comment first about truth now, because we sort of touched on Brian Jordan's. And
Did we give
truth
him an
is,
answer? Did we give him an answer? Yeah, hang on to that, especially if it's 2 bedrooms. That's going to be
especially
worth even
right now,
more.
if you paid, if you're cash flowing right now and things are good and you've got equity,
But
just like Darryl said,
do we
where are you
consider what do we consider cash flow?
positive cash flow
But
is
like
based on your expenses.
$43, we're okay with $43?
As a new investment, no, but let's look at the current situation, because they could have been having a $500 a month cash flow before the rental crisis, and now they've got to rent it out at a lower price. So it may have gone from
But
500 down
that
to
means it's
43.
good. That means you can absorb this kind of thing,
Exactly.
right?
That's why I'm case by case based on what your
But there's
situation
no
is.
case where $43 as the initial return
That's it,
is
not an
good, right?
initial
No,
return. It's good.
okay, good.
Okay.
We don't count appreciation in 5 years of what we think it will be worth
The worst
as part of
analysis
our.
you could possibly, yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
thank you. Go. Okay, yeah. What were you
Yeah,
saying?
so that truth,
Truth.
$100,000 investment, right? On something that's
100,000. 100,000.
100,000. So if you bought 20% down, it's a $500,000 property. That's
Yes.
assuming you have all the other closing costs.
Yes.
Okay. The reality is, in Toronto, that's not going to be a very viable investment, and that there's going to be some issues down the road, and you're going to have you're going to be over leveraged on that, and it may not be something that's going to work for you. So what I recommend, and any investor do, especially young investors my age, is to go and find a real estate agent in a small town. You got Windsor, you got Barrie, you got Peterborough, you got North Bay, anywhere. Find a place. Find a realtor who's also an investor himself, who owns rental properties, who has proven a system that he's been able to find cash flowing properties, who also sells properties. So then he's going to be motivated to find you good deals because he gets paid. And hook up with that guy or girl and make sure that they know that you're serious and that you want to find properties, and that he'll point you in the direction for contractors and property managers, and he'll help you bring him in. You might find him through the real estate investment network or something like that, and you'll get into properties in an area that are going to be cheaper than Toronto, that are going to have better cash flows, that maybe you won't see the appreciation that you're hoping to get from the Toronto real estate market, but it'll be in a safe neighborhood with positive cash flow that is going to be sustainable, that is going to be recession proof, that you're going to be able to build equity and think about it not as how much is my asset going to be worth, but how can I pay down that principal and be able to refinance later on to be able to go and buy another one like that. And your mindset should be, my asset will never increase in value, but I'm okay because of how much income I'm generating from it and how I'm paying off that principal. And then I'll be able to take that money and put it into something else. And I'll be able to buy all these $200,000 units with other people's money that I'm generating from rent. And if they're all worth 200 grand at the end of the day, that's okay. I'm all right with that, because I know that I've got a proven system that's going to pay that principal down and generate income for me, and that the expenses are never going to exceed the income that I generate. And that's a system in place. Everything else is all make believe and smoke and mirrors, and real estate agents will tell you all sorts of nonsense to get you to make bad decisions. Find somebody who's doing it themselves and who's got invested interest in helping you, because they're going to want to help you build your portfolio in that area. And you could buy one every few years. And if you're in your 20s or 30s, that's a lot of business for that person, and that's a good relationship to start. It's just not happening in Toronto at that price, unfortunately.
You can do this in your 40s and 50s as well. Disclaimer. And maybe in your 60s. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're familiar with other provinces, like if you've got knowledge in Florida, like there's other areas to go to. I know guys in the States, and I know guys throughout Canada. I'm just not.
You should be able to drive to the thing if you need to get there for some reason quickly.
The laws in Florida are actually really favorable to landlords and the people who
Sure.
have properties in Florida swear by it. They're like, it's the best. It's like things don't go
So
wrong. Like they're out
cheap
of there.
though.
You know?
It's so cheap. It's crazy. I don't understand how they can build houses for the price they sell them for in the States. But
Never
anyways,
get investment advice from somebody who's not doing the same thing.
I think that is sound advice. I mean, that's really, I mean, how much is a $400,000 mortgage right now? What's that monthly payment? How much is $100,000 right now?
60, $42 per 10 grand. $42,
42 at under 2%?
something like that. Yeah, that was the last time I checked.
Wow. I would have thought it'd be more like $35 or even less these days.
You
But
can argue
anyways,
about
whatever it is, well, I mean, it makes a difference. So let's just say $400 for argument's sake, every 100,000.
100,000. Yeah,
So what's our mortgage on this thing if we put 100 down and we have 400? So 1,600. So I mean, that doesn't give you too many places to buy something where, because you really should be getting like over $2,000 a month, right, for that house. So $2,500 maybe. So you're making a few $100 after you paying for insurance and maintenance. And,
duplex opportunities.
yeah. No, that, I mean, he mentioned in about a basement and renting the main floor to somebody else or something. But even just finding one of these $500,000 houses and renting the basement separate from the main floor.
Okay, so let's go to the other part of that question is, do I recommend people move into the basement and rent out the upstairs? Absolutely.
If you're young,
Absolutely.
yeah.
You can live at home and rent out both units, great. But if you're going to say, look, I'm going to go and get a condo and I'm going to be paying $2,000 a month, I'm okay paying $2,000 a month. That's well within my budget. But the bank is able to qualify me, and you could buy legal duplexes and use 50% of the income to try to qualify as well too. But let's just say you're not doing that. The bank is able to qualify you to be able to buy a larger home, and then you can go into an area like Oshawa, or you can go and find something that is, maybe in Newmarket. There's a few opportunities out there where you can get into maybe the $600,000 price range.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be your principal residence, you could qualify for less than 20% down payment and then move into the basement, because now the income you're generating above plus the $2,000 that you were willing to pay for that condo, and you're basically getting the same space, is going to help pay off your principal a lot faster.
Sure.
Yeah.
You want to hear my idea?
Okay, let's hear it.
It's probably a little further out of the realm of realism for most people.
Sure.
But this is where my head went.
Okay.
There are some decent areas that you can buy a commercial property, like a retail on a main street with a couple of apartments above it for $850, $1 million, somewhere in that price range. So let's say you have 10%. Yeah, you can still get it financed with 10% because listen, it gets better.
Okay.
So you want to find something on a main drag somewhere near like an LRT or a subway or something of that nature.
Mm.
And you want to find a corner, and you want to find something that is 1 or 2 stories. You want something 2 stories with 2 rental apartments, but you want room for growth.
Sure.
And I think you could very easily get financing, even with just that $100,000, to put like another couple of apartments on top of it. But even just with the $100,000 and financing the rest, I think you could probably make a cash flow, because you're going to have 2 apartments in the city of Toronto for, I don't know, they're going to be decent sized units above a retail, like, one of these 20-foot wide retails with two apartments above. So let's say $2,000 each a month for above, 1,800.
Okay.
Plus another $2,000, 25, 3,000 for down below, and you're cash flowing, baby. And if you can add,
property taxes though are a lot more.
Yeah, they're higher, but they also get passed on to the retail tenant. So
I think it's an option. That's a harder find.
I don't know if it's harder to find. It's harder to find somebody that would want to do that, and it takes a lot of work to actually finance and put that thing together. But it would be very, very lucrative, because then, Danforth, Bloor West, like there's a lot of these things actually. And what happens is, if you have a longer outlook later on, somebody's going to come knocking and say, we'd like to buy this as part of our development site.
I
And
know where
we'll take you out. And then you'll go, the fuck you will. I want in. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's make a few mil, baby.
Yeah. You're willing to buy and hold, that eventually will happen if you're on a main street like that. If you're on
I don't
a
think you
large
should invest to buy and sell. Like if you're investing as cash flow, like you're a cash flow investor, you should buy to hold forever.
good.
That
Let's talk about the deal of the week.
the deal of the week.
Oh, that was good. No sound effects needed. So, guy came to us a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago.
TK's deal of the week.
Beautiful. And he said, I've been listed with another broker. I haven't been able to get the property sold. This is the price that I'm hoping to get. He put himself in a situation because he spent a lot of money on a reno. This is off Bloor Street in the West End in Etobicoke. And he put himself in a position where he spent a lot of money on a reno and wanted to sell. And of course, nobody wants to lose money, right? So he had the property listed at $1,450,000, wasn't getting any activity.
Where is this? Bloor and where?
Bloor West, like west end of Bloor, Etobicoke. So he ended up saying to me, what do I need to do to get this sold? Let me see what it is that is a possibility. So I looked at the sales. The sales are all between 1.2 and 1.325. Those are the sales.
So where'd 1.4 come from?
Because of how much money he invested in the property.
Oh, so he has to get 1.4
over to break even, right?
Ooh.
Yeah, so he's in bad position. So we looked at this. I looked at the sales. I'm looking.
How did that happen? Didn't prices go up? What the hell did he do?
He overspent. That's just the way. He overpaid in 2016, 17, and he overspent. So he got
by enough. Hold on. Since 2016, there has been a significant amount of appreciation in this market, has there not?
Yes.
And so he bought something so over market value and put so much extra into it that he is that too bad.
That's what happens sometimes. This is real estate. These stories come up all the time. So I said, well, look, there's already listings right now that are sitting at 1.3. They're not moving. So let's list it at 1.2. Remarket the whole entire thing, get all new photos done, get it out to as many people as possible, and let's see if we can create a bidding war in this type of situation to make somebody pay the price that you need to. Because there was some incentive because it's a larger lot. It's on a street that has a lot of custom homes. So my play was somebody wants to buy it. They're going to rent out the basement because it's got an apartment. They're going to hold it. And maybe 10 years later, they can go and build a 4,000 square foot home on this great, wide, deep lot. Because it was a great lot, right? But it's just a small little bungalow. So a lot of people thought, it's not really a great size. So anyways, we had few dozen showings. We had half a dozen offers. Prices started to come in. There was about 3 of them that were all up in that range, got them up to about 1.4, ended up talking to them, about what the situation was and said, this is where I need you guys to improve to make this work. And he ended up getting over $1,450,000. He ended up just getting over the price that he was listed at before because we were able to leverage the competition from the multiple offers. We were able to show the buyers the value by explaining to them what he had done and where that value is and where that value is going to be in the future. And that the lot itself is worth the price that they're paying because in the future, if they had to build something 4,000 square feet, it's going to be a profitable build, right? Which is the uniqueness about this type of situation is that most of the times tearing down the house and building doesn't make sense. You're going to lose money. In this situation, there was enough spread. There was some of the houses were $2.83 million. So you could use that lot in the future, and those prices will only go up. So it means building on that lot would be successful. So sold it. It was a big win. He was happy. The buyers were happy. They got what they want. Obviously, we did our job, and that was the deal of the week.
TK's Deal of the Week. Brought to you by Frank Leo and Associates.
We need more sponsors, but that's okay. We'll work on it.
This episode is brought to you by
Colgate.
Colgate,
yeah, that's good. Keep your teeth clean, nice and shiny, and bacteria free.
sensitive.
For our last 10 minutes of the segment, what do we got here?
Not much.
Okay.
Final comments. I mean, I think we had a pretty good show there.
Yeah, I'm seeing activity. So just quickly on the condo market, because that condo I was talking to you about, that
Lots
was
of launches, actually. Lots of launches. You want to talk
let's get
about
into
that?
that. Let me just quickly talk about the condo that I sold last week. That was the one that we were talking about cash flowing because it was 1,370 square feet. We were selling it for like
Oh
300.
yeah, Jesus,
That one sold 22,000 over asking. We had 4 offers.
crazy.
The condo
Yeah,
because
but I mean that.
demand.
Yeah,
That's it. There's a ton of demand out there still. It's just there wasn't a ton of supply in that building. There wasn't a lot of stuff in Scarborough for sale. There was a ton of activity on it, and people said, "No, this is a great deal, and I want to buy it."
I
Because
just
where else at McCowan and Shepherd could you go and get something for $500,000? So you're getting 1,370 square feet, good maintenance fee, good, well managed building.
and
So the
it's
condo market is
huge.
collapsing. So just to rebut on the Remax article, it is not necessarily true about the overall condo market. You have to look at the building. You have to look at the area it's in. You got to understand the condo market very well because I think a lot of people could be doing stuff out of fear and missing out on opportunities in the outskirts. Because if they do need to go into a condo,
Urban flight leaving poor demand for Toronto condos.
urban flight, yeah. So
This
the,
is
the
why
central
Remax.
areas, but
Low
regardless,
interest rates fuel buying more houses.
I get that. That makes sense.
Greater Toronto condos are seeing sharp oversupply. Did I
I
say
agree.
great or greater? Greater Toronto condos are seeing sharp oversupply.
I agree.
These are all headlines within the article, just like driving the nail in the coffin.
So launches, what's going on?
Launches.
Because I'm seeing a lot of stuff in Vaughan only.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think. Actually, there was one downtown, 10 Prince Arthur. I've been watching this deal forever. Prince
Wow.
Arthur's like Bloor Avenue. It's a small site. Price
Yeah.
is starting from the 3 millions.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's
So
gonna.
I'm looking at a building down at Yonge and Queens Quay just because somebody was talking to me about it. And yeah, they've had some nice luxury $2.5, $2.8 million sales in the last month. So there's some luxury condo buyers
There,
working their magic out there. They want more space and they don't want to go to the freehold.
there definitely is. There's a couple of launches in Scarborough. We've got tricycle condos. This is, I think, phase three. I think phase three.
Okay.
What I'm noticing though, and there's another one on Kingston Road, Perch condos. I'm interested
Yeah.
to see what
I like this
prices
one.
this comes out at. And then all kinds of stuff all over. Green Hill, Berkshire, Cache Park, the Stanley. These are all over the place. Oshawa, Oakville, Brantford, and
Well, and
Niagara. Like there's all kinds of launches, but just not much in Toronto per se.
yeah.
What else do we have
So is that
here?
because developers are afraid that they're not going to get the money that they need? Or what's going on with that?
Um, well, I think people are just kind of waiting to see if they don't have to launch right now. I mean, the worst thing possible would be to have a disastrous launch, right? It's like putting up a house on the MLS and it not selling. It gets like a stigma. It's
Yeah.
like, why didn't this sell? What's
But
wrong
these
with it?
these guys, because of their pockets are so deep, they're not acting out of fear. They've got strategies in place that have been proven time and time again. And right now, they're looking at the risk of launching and failing and saying it's not worth it.
Or they
And let's
just don't have anything to launch. But I think I see like, for example,
everybody know it seems
no,
like
no,
there's
no,
one
no, no. Like
down this year.
my cousin's company, which is a big company called Lifetime Developments. Like I've seen a bunch of advertisements come through my email from them of like remaining supply sale, like these
Yeah,
four,
getting rid.
buildings, sale,
Yeah,
sale, sale. And then what I'm seeing in all these launches, which either I'm crazy or this is something new or I don't know what's going on, but they're all releasing the big, less desirable units first instead of saving them till the end. Because I
yeah.
guess it's a different pool of buyers that are out there right now.
It's
It's not,
interesting, right?
well,
They don't want to have inventory with the one bedrooms and say, okay, you know what? Maybe that's not what people are going to be looking for.
I think it's partially that, and it's like, let's see if we can get rid of some of the shitty units earlier before we really launch all the good stuff.
But are they the shitty units or are they the ones that are actually more desirable right
I think if the buyers are local, they've always been the more desirable, right? But again, it's price point. Like
The end users, I mean.
out in the Perch here in Scarborough, I mean, the price point's not going to be anywhere close to, starting in the 3 millions,
No.
right? So I don't know. I mean, we're gonna see what's going on. I'm really interested. There's 3 launches in Scarborough to see how successful they are and what prices they sell at. Obviously, for purely selfish reasons, but I think it's also just an indicator. I mean, stuff in Thornhill is launching over $1,000 a square foot. Stuff in Mississauga is going over $900 a square foot. Like everything's crazy.
Crazy.
But
And
there's
I'm looking at
really
this building down at Yonge and Queens Quay with lake views, and I'm seeing people struggling to get $1,000 per square foot.
in the
I'm like,
resale
what's going
market.
on? Yeah. I'm like, what is going on?
It's going to be a real interesting time. And I think we're going to be talking about the same shit for a few more weeks for sure, if not a few
Okay.
more months. I don't know
It's
that
okay.
anything new will come out, but I
As
mean,
long as we're talking about what's currently going on and we're not like the media talking about the past, I
yeah.
think we're helping people.
Oh,
And
actually, the most important question of them all, which
yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Did you see the new Borat movie?
No, that looks good though.
Oh,
Love
it's
Borat.
so funny.
I thought you were gonna say, how come the people listening right now haven't subscribed?
Some of them have. I want,
Yeah.
more importantly, who unsubscribed? This channel's not big enough to handle unsubscribers yet, okay? We see
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
This
Like,
is,
like, share, subscribe. Those are the only words we know. Please.
don't unsubscribe. God, just delete the notification or something,
Yeah.
please.
Might as well leave a negative comment or something, but keep that subscription up.
Keep the subscription up. Like, share, blah, 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 blah. Good to see you, Mr. TK.
Thanks for having me again, Daryl, and we'll chat again soon. And let's see what the next week of real estate comes up with in Toronto.
Boom.